Joining us now, a dear friend, somebody else I don't talk to often enough, but the Women's Convention gives us an opportunity to do it. She's someone else I would say has license to join this show anytime to talk about anything she wants to talk about because she's out here in these streets organizing, marching, and really just fresh back from Puerto Rico. Our dear friend is with us, and we're happy to have her. Rosa Clemente is here. Rosa, how are you today? Good morning.
I'm good, Mark. Thanks for having me. I mean, you blew up, and what happened?
Oh,
I've been wanting to be on your show, but I'm going to come on every week now. Thank you.
Well, we want you to. We hope that you
I'm
will.
here for you.
Yeah, we appreciate it. How's everything? How's the family and everything?
Good. Let me just say this real quick. I disagree with the sister a little bit about these men. These men are predators. They know what they've been doing for a long time, and we don't need men to be allies anymore. We don't need them to admit what they're doing. We need them to be accomplices against patriarchy, or they're patriarchal and predators. But that's just, my thing with these men all of a sudden deciding to apologize. We don't need apologies. We need men to stop raping and being sexual assaulters.
Yeah.
But that's my thing. We can go to Puerto Rico because there's a lot of predatory behavior happening on the island right now.
Well, no, let's do that. Please update us because you were down there in the midst of it all, and where else would you be? I mean, when I found out you were going to Puerto Rico, I said, well, of course she is. If nobody told me that, I would have assumed you were gone. But talk to us about what you saw and what's taking place down there, if you would.
Yeah, first, I mean, I think my family is as good as can be, so thank you. But I think every Puerto Rican on the island and through that diaspora is worried about somebody. And I think a lot of us are now feeling the stress and anxiety of what's happening in Puerto Rico. Before Hurricane Maria hit, Hurricane Irma had hit, and a lot of people were already without electricity and clean water and communication. And now, almost 5 weeks after Hurricane Maria, I just got back from being down there for 13 days. I just got back last Thursday. And, I mean, the things we saw, I feel Katrina, the reporting I did in Katrina and New Orleans should have prepared me. But I was not prepared for the scale of disaster. First, Puerto Rico geographically looks like a bomb has been thrown in it. If anybody's ever been there, what you see is greenery and blue, and now what you see are dirty rivers of brown and almost black tar in some of them because of all the sewage and dead animals and waste and chemicals. And then you see mountain strip there of greenery. So if you ever been there, the Puerto Rico you saw when you went last time no longer exists. The main problem right now is still the lack of drinkable water, right? So the government, the United States and FEMA will say only 27% of the people are without water. But what they're not saying is that people who are getting water, it's mostly contaminated water. Like they're telling people not to even go in the ocean in Puerto Rico because of the contamination in all the water.
Mm-hmm.
There are diseases breaking out, bacterial infection, leptospirosis, which is rat urine in water. People are getting water from the mountain, but the mountain water is also contaminated. We went to FEMA locations where we found FEMA, but apparently people living a mile away couldn't find FEMA because there were no signs saying this is where you go. Even if you try to go somewhere, most of the bridges have collapsed. And a lot of what people are saying about Puerto Rico is San Juan. San Juan is the main city. It's where the heart of government lies, but that is not Puerto Rico. The west of Puerto Rico has been destroyed. And to this day, there are people who, 5 weeks after this hurricane, have not been able to get off the mountain community they live in, have not gotten any FEMA help except being told or given the runaround of how many different offices to go, and basically being told anything they need to do to receive help has to come via Wi-Fi. There is no communication in Puerto Rico. You're very lucky to ever get a signal, right? And again, this is in San Juan. While we were there, we got so many stories of mothers who have stopped lactating because of lack of nutrition. Baby foods can't be found on the shelves, so a lot of parents are feeding their baby daily mashed bananas and unfortunately giving them contaminated water, which is causing a lot of issues for babies.
Wow.
We spoke to a doctor that said he believes there will be a cholera outbreak. I mean, and then on top of this, we also have a non-functioning government. The governor, Jose Joe, we don't have the Republican or Democratic Party, but he might as well be a Republican. He's homies with Trump.
Yeah.
And he is a statehooder. He supported the Promesa bill that most Republicans and Democrats supported, and unfortunately was signed by President Obama, which catastrophically, like, it took $700 million away from all the municipalities right away. And that's to pay the so-called debt that we as Puerto Ricans owe the U.S. government.
Yeah, yeah. You said he's a statehooder. Is that not a good thing?
No, it's not. No. First, most Puerto Ricans don't want to be a state. The last election plebiscite that they had, what ended up happening is that 77% of people who could vote chose to boycott that election. And that's coming from a country where Puerto Ricans vote at a 90% rate in all elections. So there was a boycott. So, of course, the statehood position won.
Well, why was there a boycott, Rosa?
Because people don't participate in farces. Plebiscites are non-binding. Because we're a colony of the United States, we have no representation in the United States government, right? And as people, citizens that live on the island of Puerto Rico, we cannot vote for the president. So those plebiscites, they do them a little bit at a time to make the people feel good, like we're listening to you. But we're not. Puerto Ricans will never be a state because in order to also be a state, we would have to give up the Spanish language and our own Puerto Rican constitution. Now, people like Jose Joe, that I call white Puerto Ricans, elite, living, engaged communities, they're statehooders. His father was a statehooder. I'll be surprised if he even makes it through this term because he has spent more time in Miami with Jennifer Lopez and Gloria Estefan and Mark Anthony than he has on the ground in Puerto Rico, which is effectively why the mayor of San Juan has become the de facto leader in government in Puerto Rico, as well as the voice of many mayors. Puerto Rico has 77 municipalities, which means we have 77 mayors, which is crazy, but that's a whole level of government incompetence that has been built in Puerto Rico. But she also speaks for many of the mayors that to this day don't have walkie-talkies to communicate or are stuck in places. We got to places, there's a spot called Utuado, which is the west of Puerto Rico, one of the most devastated spots. We got to the bottom of the mountain in a Hyundai Accent and a Kia Sorento, but the military down the street told us they couldn't get to the mountain in their military vehicles.
Oh, my God.
But we got to the mountain.
Oh, my God.
So the levels of incompetence and negligence, I think, speak to the fact that, and this is my very personal political belief, they want a Puerto Rico without Puerto Ricans. They've extracted from our island since Hurricane America colonized us 119 years ago, and now their final plan is full extraction of the people. 55,000 Puerto Ricans as of last week have fled the island. They make it way easy to leave and completely difficult to stay because once you don't have water, you do not have life. And that's what's happening in Puerto Rico. You know, so people wake up at 3 a.m. to stand in lines every day for every single thing. Kids will be out of school for the next year. Like, children are out of school for the next year. And, you know, that's all the horrible stuff. The good stuff is that our people are self-determining, and are building community in ways that we've never seen. And if young people aren't in schools and they're in the streets with machetes clearing roads, if our young brothers and sisters aren't work, they're helping to rebuild bridges. But for young people who are leaving, most of those people who have left, it's a forced mass exodus. And it's also how could you stay? How could you build a family? Before Irma, people were out of paycheck. Now there's people on the island who had jobs. Puerto Rico was already in severe poverty. The unemployment rate before Irma was almost 55%. Now they're saying it's up to 85%, and there's been people now 6 or 7 weeks without a paycheck on that island.
Wow. Rosa Clemente with us, and we thank you for that update. What is your ongoing? I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just ask this first.
Yes.
At 8 minutes before the hour, is the true desire of the Puerto Rican people independence? Is that the preferable political state? That is.
I would say at this point, yes.
Yeah.
And this is why. People who were scared not to have the U.S. government as daddy or mommy now know what it's like to live and resist and be resilient without the U.S. government, mommy and daddy. So our elders, like even my uncle was like, oh, they had that carajo, let's just be free. At least if we're free, we build not an electrical grid, but we could build a grid on solar. At least if we're free, we can have the resources that are in the mine. So I think there's a shift, but it's been happening since 2008, especially with young people, because we've been in economic crisis since 2008 on that island, deep. And my belief, like our African-American brothers and sisters, we don't owe nothing to the United States. That $74 billion debt needs to be canceled, and we owe reparations. And what the government of the United States has given us that a lot of Democrats have signed on to is a $4 billion loan that they expect Puerto Ricans to pay back. No, that's a setup. That's a setup to take the whole island and privatize the whole entire, because our electrical grid is a public utility. It's actually the largest public utility within the United States America context, and they want to privatize that.
Rosa Clemente with us, folks. We are coming up on a radio break, a Sirius XM break. And so what we're going to do, because Rose and I have yet to even talk about the Women's Convention, and what she's saying is fast. I'm going to continue to talk to her and get her thoughts about the upcoming convention. I even have 1 or 2 more questions about Puerto Rico. Okay. If you want to hear that live as it happens, join us on Twitter, twitter.com/makeitplain, facebook.com/makeitplain, or MIP. Put MIP in your Facebook browser. And also on youtube.com/makeitplain. Our conversation will continue on those 3 social media, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, all Make It Plain. Because we're going to, do a little more of a deep dive with Rosa, because she's saying some things that are really pretty fascinating. As we so when we take this break, you can pick us up there again. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube all Make It Plain. We are streaming live right now. Rosa, what is, because I'm sure you're going to be doing some following up, and I'd like to ask you, in terms of Puerto Rico, in terms of your activism, in terms of addressing the situation there, and folks, join us on social media. We'll be back here live on the radio in about 4 minutes. Okay. Let me ask you this, Rosa. What is it that what are your plans in terms of continuing to educate, organize, and mobilize around Puerto Rico? And is there anything our listeners can do to join you in that movement?
Yeah, well, I brought together young, independent, fierce group of Latinx media makers, because I knew we would have to go and tell our story, because no one's going to tell the story like Puerto Ricans can tell the story. And the project is called PR on the Map. And, I know us being down there made an impact in breaking through particularly the mainstream media kind of noise that was only dealing with the crisis as opposed to also dealing with how the crisis happened and the politics of it. So again, on Twitter, Facebook, even our website, it's pronthemap.com, and folks can find my exclusive one-on-one sit-down interview with Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz, and we will be going back this whole next year if we could reach our funding goals to like really report grassroots independent journalism. So that's how people can definitely follow us and help out and check out over 40 videos that we have, including for you boxing fans all the way from Tito Trinidad, who we're able to talk to
Okay.
Presidente, a really dope hip-hop artist.
PR on the map.
PRonthemap.com and PR on the map on Twitter.
PRonthemap.com. Folks, check that out and remain informed and enlightened about Puerto Rico. Women's Convention. It's a pretty big deal,
so
Rosa. You are. Tell us why you're excited and what you expect and what we need to accomplish.
I think Carmen, Tamika, and Linda, I've seen these young sisters grow up in the movement or come up in the movement, and it's amazing to see what they've been able to do, as well as bring us together. I think convenings and conferences are also critically important. I'll be doing 2 workshops there, all on Puerto Rico with other people, and as well as being part of the Friday morning plenary, where I will have an opportunity to address the entire convention about the ongoing crisis in Puerto Rico.
And that's, of course, very, very important. 2 workshops, and you say Puerto Rico will be addressed, too, at the convention.
Yeah, they have me as one of the open plenary speakers, and, of course, our workshops will dig deeper, especially around issues around feminism and independence and what we call community kitchens and brigades in Puerto Rico.
How important is it that we have a women's convention right now, Rosa?
Well, the fact that we have high-powered men, Babylon is falling, so let's let it keep falling. And the more women and our non-gender conforming brothers and sisters and our male accomplices in bringing down patriarchy get together, there's no way we can't maybe topple at least this aspect of patriarchy that infects us from the workplace to the school halls. So it is critically important that we come together at this moment.
Rosa Clemente, folks, be sure to follow PR on the Map on Twitter. Lastly, Rosa, I think it's important that especially we have this conversation. As a veteran of independent politics, third-party politics, you ran as the Green Party nominee for vice president 2008, I believe. I thought I had my years right. Did you support, and forgive me for not knowing this, I assume you did you support the Green Party ticket last year?
I did support the ticket. I want people to stop saying Jill Stein's the reason Hillary Clinton lost, but she got less than 1% of the vote. But with electoral politics, I've seen my way out of that space. It no longer is a space I want to be in. Even with third parties, and it's just a decision I've made because I think the power is going to come from people power and organizing. I don't think it's going to come through the ballot box.
Yeah, I got you. Well, and don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with that. I think that some of us are supposed to do that. Because I went through that. I mean, of course, I still cover electoral politics and I vote and I understand that and all of that. But when we formed the Umoja Party, and you remember the struggle we had around that, and it was a noble struggle. I don't regret it. But I'm not going to run for office again. I mean, that's not that's not really what the calling is. And the reason I asked you that because I just wanted people. I think it's important people hear from someone like you. There's so many perspectives on this. But just to hear a different perspective, because the bottom line is not Rosa Clemente, and you and I have talked about this for years. Politics is not just electoral. Politics is 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And if we do it right, Rosa, if we do it right, then we're Dr. King. who the electoral politicians had to check in with or check on every morning before they made a decision. The movement
Yeah.
drove the electeds rather than the people responding and reacting all the time to the electeds.
And I think that's where we're at, that people are responding to a megalomaniac, white supremacist, a two-party system driven by money. Look, on a very Puerto Rico level, our own Congress people, Nidia Velasquez and Jose Serrano, voted for Promesa when the people of Puerto Rico were saying, please don't do this to us, begging them, don't do this to us. Only Maxine Waters and Congressman Gutierrez said this will be a final blow to the economic life and potential rebuilding of Puerto Rico, and this was before the hurricanes. So what I always think, Mark, is African brothers and sisters that were enslaved did not vote for freedom. They did not vote for freedom. They ran to freedom and made freedom happen from the bottom of the feet all the way to the top of the head. And but I'm also good with people who want to do that work. Go do that work. But if you're going to do it, then let's do something radically different. Understand the money in this game. And maybe it's about local politics as much as possible of electing the most progressive people that are not tied to a two-party system.
Yeah. And you mentioned local, too. I mean,
Right.
if we only would prioritize the down ballot stuff, because those are the offices that really affect people right immediately there on the ground. But
exactly. We have Raz Baraka as mayor in Newark, which was Raz is mayor because of a plan, not because he decided to be mayor. Same with Chokwe Lumumba and then now his son Antar.
Right.
There was a 10-year plan called the Jackson Kush Plan that built up a community base that whether they were mayors or not, that plan would have moved forward. But now that we've had the mayor, Chokwe Lumumba, and now Antar, they're guided by the plan.
Yeah,
and if they go against the plan, they're going to have to deal with their base.
Right. That's right. Right.
That's electoral political power.
That's
right there.
Yeah, that's real. That's real politics in terms of that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, we're back live talking with Rosa Clemente. We were speaking with her before the break. We've talked through the break. Those of you who moved to social media, you heard our conversation. But as we come back now, and we've got to move on, and we're going to let Rosa go, I just want to reiterate for our radio audience, in case you missed it, when we went to break, we were talking a great deal about Puerto Rico. Go to pronthemap.com to inform yourself on Rosa and others reporting, her whole team. Follow PR on the Map on Twitter, and let's support Puerto Rico, because as we know, it's like Katrina and all these other things. This news cycle is every few hours, and then we on to the next thing, and we forget about it. But Puerto Rico has got to go through a major rebuilding. People are down there suffering. PROnTheMap.com. Go there. Follow PR on the Map on Twitter to figure out how you can get involved and how you can be supportive of your fellow citizens and human beings in Puerto Rico. And hold it, Rose, I'd be remiss. One more thing. DACA repeal and the DREAM Act. What do you think about all of that and what Trump is doing?
I mean, again, nothing that he does surprises me. I think it's sickening that, these DACA recipients were told to register with the federal government so that they would be safe. And now that registration is literally being turned on them. And I think unless we're ready to literally put our bodies on the line as they try to do a mass deportation, which they will try to do, don't anybody get it twisted, and it's going to come fast and furious. We're going to let down millions of young people in this country. And I applaud everyone who's doing work around undocumented human beings, whether they're Latino or Africans. This has to stop, or the footnote in history will be we let it happen on our watch.
Yeah.
We can't let that happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rosa Clemente is one of the headliners at the Women's Convention coming up this weekend in Detroit. I know that she is going to be a big hit up there. And I know she's going to bring the house down, too. She always does. Couldn't be a women's convention without Rosa Clemente, quite frankly. It wouldn't be legitimate. We love our sister at Rosa Clemente on Twitter, at PR on the Map on Twitter, also PROnTheMap.com. Rosa, we love you. Please, let's talk
Thank
more
you.
often, okay?
Yeah, no, thank you to the team over there, and as always, Mark, thank you, my brother. I love you. You've been having my back for 20 years now, and I'm glad you're here for us, telling our narratives and our truths.
Sister,
I love you.
So love you too. You've had my back too, sister. We doing life, okay?
Yes, we are.
Take care now.
Okay,
Bye bye.